So I'm gonna try to start a vlog. I'm never good at these. These are always, I don't know. I mean, vlogging as a skill is something I'm still working on, but I haven't recorded videos in a while, so I want to do a vlog. I like having vlogs and sit down videos, and then like kind of like implementing the sit down videos, not in my vlogs, but like you guys will see probably the sit down videos before the vlogs, and then you can kind of, you know, whatever. Let's just start off with what I'm currently, also let's talk about, let's have a life update. Okay, so I posted my end of the year videos and I haven't posted anything since, and to me that's exciting. I love doing that, but it's sad to me that I haven't had a video out since, because I love seeing you guys comment, especially people who's like I watch their videos too. Like, just it feels like we have this parasocial relationship online, and I'm just not giving what I need to give. As far as my life is concerned, as far as what I'm willing to share, I just moved apartments, so that's why there's a ladder here, because we just hung up these giant ass curtains, which I've never had curtains before. I moved in with my sister, who's never been in my videos, but I don't know. We'll see if she feels like being in a vlog at some point. I don't know. She's currently watching Dune Part 2, which I have not even seen the first one. I'm not sure if I want to read it first. I don't know. I'm intimidated by like the book, but I would definitely watch the movie, and I might just do that instead of reading the book. I don't know, but that's where she's at right now, so she's doing that. Our apartment is still coming together. I'm actually sitting on the floor, and this is the height of our couch. So that was a whole thing. And I have two dogs. I have a dog. Well, one is my sister's dog and one is my dog. I don't know if I've ever put him in a video before either, but I think he's been in like very brief clips. Hello. That's Charlie. I mean, I've had him for 4 years. I don't know. I've just never put him in a video because he's a little shit. But he's always like knocking around my tripod and all kinds of stuff. I mean, but he is very cute. He's very cute, aren't you? So as far as what I'm reading, I started The Shadow of the Wind, and I'm like 18% in. I think I started this morning, so to me that's a good sign. It's really long, but I was watching Hannah from O'Clock Reader's favorite, the video she did that was like her all-time favorite books. And as I've read more and more, the more I'm like, you know, all the books that she's recommended, I've really enjoyed. So I'm listening to that. I was also listening to Air of Fire, which I started like 2 months ago. I don't even know, it might have been, you know what? I can check when I finished Crown of Midnight, because I loved Crown of Midnight. I was very about Crown of Midnight. And I was like so excited to read the rest of the series. And then I was so unexcited as Air of Fire started, and I know why. She's setting up a whole cast of new characters. Yeah, Air of Fire is after Crown of Midnight. And while I definitely want to read an epic fantasy, I definitely want to do that. I'm just not sure if what Miss Sarah Janet gave me in the first two books was that, and whatever those first two books were is what I wanted. And I feel like, and I don't know, because I was having this argument with some of my friends about how it was like, oh, well, there's other series where like it introduces more and more characters as you go along. But the thing is, it doesn't, a lot of like the series that I like, you still have your protagonist and you still have that as like a main POV, or like, I don't know, just something about these characters being, because like I can think of like my all-time favorite series in The Diviners, like you're introduced to like completely new cast of characters in the second. That's not true. And you're introduced to everyone in the first book. So that to me, so you're introduced to everyone in the first book. So I feel like, I mean, there might be one or two characters that you're introduced to in the second book, but they're all pretty much there going forward. So, and there's just something about the way it's written in Air of Fire that just has me having absolutely no desire to pick it up. And I'm kind of like, I know that Selena's like thrusted off into like this other part of the world. I don't really understand how we got there. I don't really like how she does plot development. I'm starting to think, and I posted an Instagram poll that was like, did you guys like ACOTAR or Throne of Glass more? And most people said ACOTAR. And at the time I was on either the end of Throne of Glass or beginning of Crown of Midnight. And I was like, how can people like ACOTAR more? I don't understand. But now that I have gone into, I've also read Assassin's Blade. I read it after Crown of Midnight. I know that's a whole hotly contested thing. I feel like it was, to me, it was better to, I think I started Assassin's Blade and I wasn't about it. I wasn't super into it. I preferred starting with Throne of Glass because it just felt like it was a better introduction to the actual world. And I don't know, I want to love Throne of Glass. I want to love it, but Air of Fire is really having me stall out. I know I've seen people say that Queen of Shadows is like really where it's good, but you're telling me that's the fifth That's the 5th. Well, I enjoyed Throne of Glass and I really liked Crown of Midnight a lot. So if there's like, and I'm not really super into short stories in general. Honestly, the only one of the short stories that I really remember is like, honestly, I should look at the list. Let me see. I think the one where she was like in that school setting, I think it was The Assassin in the Desert, maybe. I think that was my favorite, which I don't think most people claim that as their favorite, but I enjoyed her and the cast of characters that she was getting to know there. So I mean, maybe, I don't know. If I can, I'm just very slowly gonna finish Heir of Fire, and eventually maybe I'll continue this. I want to continue this series because the whole reason that I started it is because I read the last line of House of Sky and Breath, because the way that all the girlies were hyping that shit up, I was like, what is the big deal? What are people? So I just spoiled myself massively for Sarah J. Maas's works. But then I knew based off of what I read that I would also want to read Throne of Glass, because I didn't want to be in a situation where I read Crescent City and then was like, oh, now I need, if you know, you know. Like I didn't want to do that. So that was a whole ass rant about Sarah J. Maas. But yeah, so we've moved to this apartment. Those are the books I'm reading. I'm also reading the ebook for The Dream Thieves, because I read the first 2 on audio of The Raven Boys and The Dream Thieves of the Raven Cycle, and definitely liked the books, but I would still give I gave the first one a 4-star, but when I read it physically, I would also give it a 4-star, but like I enjoyed it more, which is why rating books is stupid. I'm thinking about doing a sit-down video about that, about reading books. So I have a couple ideas for videos I want to film that I need to do. And you know what else I really want to do? And I could put this in a vlog. And I want to eventually have read the first chapter of every physical book I own on my TBR, even though I said in a video I don't care about my physical TBR, because I care more about, hi. Oh, there's Luna. Hi, hello. Do you want me to talk to you? Do you want me to have a conversation with you? I want to read every book on my physical TBR because I want to know what I should keep and what I should not, because this apartment, I mean, this is actually a pretty big apartment, but I don't know how long I'm going to live here. So I don't want to have some massively huge amount of books that I need to get through or whatever. So hi. So I'm going to work on that. And I think I'm going to like, you know, use some audiobooks or whatever to try and figure out what I actually want to read. And I also want to do like this thing. It was kind of like, what's her channel name? Something cozy, something. I'll put it up here on the screen when I remember it. But I want to go through the series that I have on I have a Goodreads list of all the series that I want to read, and I want to prioritize them based off of like my personal desire to read them, and like actually knock out the ones that I actually want to read. So that's another video idea, but I have to make a template for that, which is gonna take forever. So I'm gonna go work on all of those things, and I will just update you when I make more progress in a book or anything in life happens that I want to talk about. I mean, I love, you know, some of our content creators that give us like just books and books and books in one video, but like I cannot read that fast. I just can't. So maybe I'll do like 10. If it's just the first chapter, that's a lot easier. But I don't know, we'll see. Okay, bye. I'm literally driving, but I see so many of the girlies do this. They're on their camera. And this thing is gonna, I bet it's gonna slide at some point. I don't know, we'll see. I see so many of the girlies driving and vlogging and whatnot. Well, obviously I'm just gonna look at the road and not look at the camera. This is my attempt at, you know, again, I'm still listening to Shadow of the Wind, and something this book is doing is the referring other books, and I feel like if I'd read the books, maybe they could be a signal to the reader about what's about to happen in the book that you're currently reading, which I would absolutely love that. However, I haven't read, I don't think, any book that has been mentioned so far in this book. And while I plan to read most of them, if not all of them, eventually in my lifetime, that's just not the case at the moment. And it just doesn't really feel like the referring to the other books is really adding much to the story. And also the fact that this book is tagged as suspense or thriller, like I don't really see why. I do understand some thriller elements are happening in terms of like, I would say it's more mystery in terms of like what's happening with the author of the book within the book, that our main character is like, you know, trying to track down and stuff. And I Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the writing a lot. The writing is definitely the best part about it, and the characters are like quirky a little bit and fun, but I'm just not sure I'm super into the plot. And I've said before, like, I am a reader who needs all of it. I need to be into the writing, the characters, and the plot, and the thing. I have to have every single thing in order for me personally to want to give it a 5-star rating. And there is definitely ways this book could still wow me, but I just don't know, like, I don't really understand how. And this is just also, like, I keep thinking about, like, me and literary fiction. I really, really want to be a girly who's obsessed with literary fiction. I say that. I don't really care. I love my fantasy. I love my mystery. I love my romance. I have no shame in that, and I love that. But I see, like, people who like literary. I just want to like everything. I want to be a person who likes everything, or at least knows my preferences and tastes in every genre. And I mean, I guess the only lit fic thing that I've read and enjoyed was Beartown by Frederick Bachman, and that's also from a different country, so I wonder if, like, things are different in other countries. That's just where I'm at with this one, so I'm gonna keep listening to it on my drive home and just update you guys when, again, there's something to say. And I'm trying to bring my camera with me more, because trying to have clips between the camera and the phone, I don't think that's going to work for me. And I really want to make some sit down videos, but the area that I've set up my bookshelves is kind of in a public space between me and my sister, so I'm kind of like, maybe I should move everything into my room so that I can have privacy when I'm recording. Because, I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, the people that I watch, I know live with other people, how they handle it, and I don't, maybe I need to watch more people that do that, because right now, 'tis not where I'm at. So, also, I really need to renew my library card, because I really want to, I have one book out from the library right now, The Year of the Witching, which I was reading physically, and I was obsessed with, and then I had to return it, and then I borrowed the audiobook from the library, and I was not enjoying the audiobook. Even though I love, like, audio horror stuff, again, horror is a genre. 2 of my favorite series, I feel like, have horror elements. So, again, actually, you could argue 3 of my favorite series have horror elements. Like, I don't know if I like horror on its own as a genre. I don't know. Again, things I'm still exploring as a relatively new, obsessive reader. But I know I love Frankenstein. But is Frankenstein horror? Or is it sci-fi? Or is it both? And I think horror sci-fi is incredible. I also, like I said in a couple clips before, hopefully this video is out, and hopefully I've cut out my multiple mentions of it, and I just have one mention of said video if it's done at this point. Like, the video where I'm ranking my TBR, like prioritizing my TBR because it's out of control. Like, but it's just, the library, Libby just makes it so easy to read any book that I want. But the problem with audiobooks that sucks is that if you don't like the narrator, then you just have to, like, read it yourself. Although, also, I'm reading so many books. I should, like, make a list, and I need to whittle that shit down, because I technically have started, I don't even know how many books, and the ADD is so real, and I cannot commit to one book, and I hate it. I mean, other people are, like, so impressed by how I'm able to keep so many different, like, plot lines and characters in my head, and I guess that's impressive, I guess, but, like, I also hate it. But I think I'm just so distracted by all of these other shiny, pretty stories, and I don't really understand how there was ever a version of me in which I picked up one world by one author and really deep delved into it, aka the Shadowhunter world. Like, I know how much that should appeal to me, obviously, because, like, look at how much it's changed my life, but I want that again so bad, and I feel like I will always be searching for it, always and forever, and have not ever found it. Like, it's just, again, like, to me, it's the world, it's the plot, the characters, the writing, it's everything to me. But I'm also glad to be reading The Shadow of the Wind, because I know it's translated from Espanol, and yo quiero aprender Espanol, so I should try to read it. Like, I mean, I need to learn Spanish fully first and become fluent in it before I could do that. But maybe reading a book that's been translated, and they're saying a couple Spanish words, so I don't know. But I really need to like get off this camera and actually listen to the book so that I can finish it and actually have a fully formulated opinion. So not sure if it's like you can hear it or not, but I know it looks like the video is going to be pretty dark. I love how like you're just really getting a whole view of my hands here. So it's now Thursday, and The Shadow of the Wind is good, but I just feel like we're introduced to so many characters that it's almost like it's kind of hard to keep up with. I also was I was reading on my Kindle last night The Dream Thieves, the second book in the Raven cycle, and I hate, like, every day I come home from work, I'm so tired, but I wish I could just like read a book all night long until like 3 o'clock in the morning, or 4, like some of these girls do. But I keep getting distracted by my phone and stuff, and I think I just need to put my phone in another room and just take the Kindle and just really like try to just completely and totally finish The Dream. I love her writing and the atmosphere that's being set in the Raven cycle, and also like I know that from what people say it's going to get, and I can't remember because I've already read the second book like via audio, like I said. I don't remember there being anything in the second book about anyone being gay, or I know, and I'm pretty sure it's Adam and Ronan that end up, sorry, spoiler, but I don't know. I think that's what I've heard, and I love it. I love the idea of that. But yeah, and I also love like the psychic stuff. Like I think like when I watched Charmed for the first time this year, and it's like my new favorite show. Like that's my new all-time favorite show. I thought I would like it, and I tried to start it so many times, but I just, it's like, I think I just watched it at the perfect time. I watched that and Buffy all last year, and I love both of them, but I definitely love Charmed more, and I love Supernatural more, and I need to go back and I want to watch The Vampire. That's what I need to do. I need to finish like watching. I think I watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons or whatever. Anyways, I've always loved the paranormal shit, and like, I wanted it to be gay, which is why Cassandra Clare works so well for me. That's when I kept thinking to myself before I started the Raven Boys series, like the Raven cycle again, I was like, I really just want something like paranormal, but like gay, and like I love like atmospheric writing. So I was like, well, I already kind of had that with the Raven cycle, and I know it's some people's all-time favorite series. I mean, in my all-time favorite series is The Diviners, as I've already mentioned once or twice probably, and it's just, I don't know, and I don't really like that. I've said also I didn't love the audiobook narrator for The Dream Thieves, but I wanted to, obviously. But yeah, so The Shadow of the Wind, I think I'm at, what am I at? I'm at 60%, 61%, and I just feel like we haven't really had that much happen plot. We've just been introduced to lots of characters, and of course, like, I love characters. I used to think I was a plot-driven reader, but now I don't think that's, now I think I'm more of a character. I think characters and writing can really carry a book for me, which, like, if I was more into these characters, or more, I prefer, I guess, like a small cast or a one POV character situation to really get invested in said character, or to really relate to said character, because I feel like most of my favorite books have characters in them that I see traits of myself in, and I guess I have a hard, although I would not say that there is any, well, I was going to say, like, in the Poppy War, I wouldn't have considered that a character I relate to, but in some ways, I do. But I don't have to, I don't know, that's a whole other conversation. But the thing is, I'm not really obsessed with these characters. I do like the writing a lot, but I also just think, like, the story in general is kind of basic and boring. Like, but there's definitely, like, lines that I would tab up if I had the physical book, but I'm just not sure if at this point it's a book I'm going to consider, like, as high in acclaim as, and it's funny because I think I also mentioned I was reading this because I was like, oh, I think me and Hannah from A Clockwork Reader are like much more similar in taste than I originally thought. And an author that she absolutely loves is Erin Morgenstern, and I don't love Erin Morgenstern. Like, I need more. Like, to me, the way people discuss the night circus and the escapism that is brought from the night circus, which I would love to find a standalone that offers that, especially like a standalone fantasy that offers that. The only book, actually there's 2 books that come to mind
in terms of, well, I guess more than that. I guess 3. Laini Taylor as an author, she is, like, when it comes to writing, that's the writing that I love, because her writing is so flowery, but in a way that feels purposeful. And for me, something about Erin Morgenstern's writing, it doesn't do that. But I will say, I'm enjoying this book. It's like I wanted to pick this up because I was like, well, I know that Hannah loves Laini Taylor, and I love Laini Taylor, but I don't like Erin Morgenstern. And it's almost worse. Like it's almost like because I want it to be something that it's not being, it just makes me even more upset. Erin Morgenstern's books, like. And it's so close to being what I want, but it isn't what I want, and it doesn't give me answers because I'm also like, and I guess I'm trying to think if there's any parallel or any like overlap with Hannah and mysteries that I enjoy, and I really don't feel like there is. Like, I think she's just kind of okay with a lot more whimsicals, and I love the whimsical. I love whimsy, and especially my fantasy and stuff, but I think it depends on how the book is written, right? If the book is written in a way where certain mysterious questions are brought up and we don't get answers to those questions because characters are asking answers to those questions, that is frustrating to me. And because this is a series, I worry if we're not going to get answers to certain things until like way later. So there's a police officer right next to me. So I'm just not sure if like this is my vibe. That's all I know. I'm gonna start this car. I'm gonna start driving, but I'm about to go return this drill and this ladder to my dear mother's house. But also, this is why I wanted to do, I was working on a vlogging project before in which I would only update the video when there were 5 stars, which I still want to do and I'm still kind of working on, but it is taking, I am so stingy with my 5-star ratings. So, and I know there could be a whole argument about if I should be or not, but I want to be stingy with my, as of right now in this moment, I could make a whole video about that. But while I was doing that, I was like, I hate that I'm not like updating a vlog about just like the general things that I'm reading and just the general whatever is going on. And I love vlogs and I love themed vlogs. I know so many people are now doing those types of videos and I love watching them. But for me and what it's easy to make, I'd rather just, because I am such a mood reader, I'd rather just pick up whatever. And I do have so many themes and lists and ideas on my phone and all these different notes of what like I could be reading, and I am going through those, but I'm never in the mood to like read all 15 of them at once or even 5 of them at once. Like, I'm never in the mood to just read all those books at the same time. So I would rather just do a weekly reading vlog, and then maybe once I have finished whatever the theme is, just do like a video about that. And I think that's what I'm going to start doing eventually, but also with the sense of like I want to do weekly reading vlogs because there are other things besides books that I want to talk about sometimes. And I feel like in a weekly vlog, when we're talking about our own lives, like so Ariana Grande's new album came out. And I want to talk about that because I can't remember who, I think it was probably Taylor Swift, which I also don't think that I've ever said in a video my opinions on Taylor Swift, which are very boring because I love her. But I could also do a whole video about, like, I could do tons of videos about Taylor Swift in terms of like why I appreciate her as a person, why I think she's a controversial figure sometimes when it comes to her level of feminism. I could do a whole video on that. I could talk about that. But just in terms of like the music, so anyways, Ariana's new album is a banger. It's an absolute banger. And I would rather be listening to that than listening to said books. My favorites from like my first or second listen on Ariana's new album are probably Supernatural, which I love just the idea of in general, but then also like I love obviously, like if you look at the books I love, of course Supernatural is one of them, and We Can't Be Friends. And seeing that has 11 million plays and it just came out on Friday, I am definitely a basic bitch. I feel like I always can call out which ones are going to be popular for the most part, I guess. I don't know, but also like We Can't Be Friends, I feel like millions of people relate to that, obviously, because you're like, I can't be their friend, I want more from them, blah, 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 whatever. I want to talk about that. Those are my 2 favorites. I'm going to listen to them on the way to my mom's probably. But as far as like the book reading goes. It has been, I want to say I started this on like the last Friday, so this is like over a week-long vlog or whatever. I don't really care. I just wanted to be able to finish one book in said vlog and then tell you guys like what will be coming in the next vlog or whatever, but I think I'm just gonna have to carry all 3 of these books into the next vlog. And I also mentioned like I wanted to read the first chapter of every book that I owned. Haven't done not one step in that, haven't done anything. I need to like there's so much I need to be doing that I'm not doing because I just keep sitting around and watching YouTube videos. I have filmed several sit-down videos that I'm hoping will be uploaded before this one, and I want to be able to say I can finish one book, but I don't think that's possible. But I will tell you, I'm in the middle of 3 books. I'm actively reading 3 different books. One of them being Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas, which I think I talked about already. I'm gonna start driving because I feel like it feels natural to me, like to talk about, to be making physical progress. Also, I know I mentioned again at the beginning of this vlog that me and my sister moved in together, and trying to film videos, like I just think we're gonna get a lot more car updates and a less, like the sit-down videos, I just need a bulk film in general because whenever she is like not in the house. Let's talk about the books I'm in the middle of. So Shadow of the Wind, I think I'm 80% into, and it's funny because I just watched Mara from Books Like Whoa talk about how she was enjoying the writing on a sentence to sentence level, but not really enjoying like the actual story and feeling like it was coming together for her. And I know she also said like it's not really a mystery thriller, and I completely agree in the sense of like I'm not really vibing with it. There's too many characters that I'm not interested in. There's plot twists that are happening that I should care about, and I just don't. And also they kind of just said, I think it was a character in the book said like something about hating queers or something, and I'm just like, okay, which is fine. Like I definitely read books that like contain characters who have that viewpoint, and but at the same time I'm like, I'd rather just like, sure, I don't have a problem with like a character in a book having that opinion, and I know it doesn't reflect that on the author, and that's the author's opinion or whatever, and they want to explore, that's fine. But like there's other books I could read that just like won't have that, and I would rather like read those. I'm also reading Air of Fire, and it's funny because I know there's this whole entire like conversation about classic literature / literary fiction, and I have stated I've told my friends, I don't know if I've said it in a video, literary fiction in me just I don't like it. I don't like lit fic. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a lit fic book. The only ones I've really read that I can think of are Normal People by Sally Rooney. That's like the only one, and I remember like super hating that. Oh, and I guess Tomorrow I also put that, I think I put it in my most disappointing books, and I just feel like it's not what I want. However, when you take literary writing and fantasy elements and you put them together, it is, in my opinion, the greatest thing to exist. And the first thing that comes to mind when I think of a book that has done that, it is The Name of the Wind, because you're taking like all the things I love from fantasy and the character development and all of that, and then also mixing that with like beautiful language and writing, and to me that's perfection. All of that to be said, then we have the opposite. I'm reading The Shadow of the Wind and Air of Fire, and I feel like Air of Fire is on the opposite side of things, where it's like I'm not enjoying it because the writing is kind of like, I don't know. I mean, if you like Sarah J Maas and you want to argue that she has fantastic writing, okay. For me, it's not what I love. I definitely, and I posted on my Instagram, like I was like, do people like, and I think I didn't know what the general consensus was. I thought like people said they would like Throne of Glass more. I think I've said at one point when I'd read the first 2 books that I liked Throne of Glass more. And what's wild to me is that people have said like, oh, Air of Fire is where it really kicks off, so it really gets good. It's where the series takes a whole different turn, and I guess that is true, but I guess there's also a risk in that you're going to lose people with like what you've set up and no longer like doing what you originally set up with the first 2 books, because I just don't have the same interest level that I did whenever I first started. So Air of Fire, the writing is like just okay, and the characters I'm not super invested in, and the plot I was invested in from the first 2 books, and then we've had a completely separate shift, and then I read Assassin's Blade after Crown of Midnight. I love Crown of Midnight. Like I love Crown of Midnight so much, and like I just don't understand. And I liked A Court of Thorns and Roses. My most viewed video is A Court of Thorns and Roses video, not because I think it's a good video, but just because it is a popular book, and I hate that. Like I would rather people, I hope that's not how people are finding my channel, because I'm not going to be a channel that's going to like stand Sarah J Maas. Like I'm just not I'm not that. Like I have, sure, there's problematic authors that like I still enjoy their work. Sarah J Maas, whatever. Like there's a lot to be said about her and her work with any author, right? But, and then let's talk about the third book that I'm reading, which is the one I'm enjoying the most, but also am I enjoying it the most because I'm reading it physically, and that is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater, which is just, I keep not reading it. I have it on my Kindle, and I want to read it on my Kindle, but I keep like, I don't know, there's just something about the Kindle, and I think I'd rather read it physically, and I've already tried it on audio, and I've already mentioned that too. Like, I think it's just, the writing is hitting better with my, reading it with my eyes. Like, it just is. And I think I either want to go buy the book, or I want to get it from my library, which I might try to do that tomorrow, because I think I'll be close to a library that has all four of them, which I already own the first book, and I've already just finished. I had borrowed it from the library, whatever. But like, that's what I'm talking about with like the writing, and also in terms of like fantasy and what I like to read in fantasy, it's much more like, it's just much more what I would rather be reading, which is the more like contemporary setting, but has like magical elements thrown into it. And I would have previously considered the series magical realism, but I think it's more like, if we're gonna take like a line of like fantasy, like high epic, like complete like made up world, and then we have like contemporary like real world stuff, like no magic at all, like I think it falls pretty much right in the middle. And I think right in the middle and closer to contemporary, no, I don't know, I think my preference is like in the middle and a little bit further to the right, like a little bit further to the right, but not like all the way. Like I prefer like the urban fantasy stuff. I don't really usually enjoy high epic fantasy, but when I do enjoy it, it's my favorite thing ever. So, and that's usually like, I've already mentioned before, like the Poppy War, Stranger Dreamer, Name of the Wind, like those are all things that are like high epic fantasy, and I love them. But I've also tried like some Brandon Sanderson books I haven't loved, because I love the literary writing, and I think that's, again, like Brandon, and that's funny because I think Brandon Sanderson and Sarah J Maas, not everyone, but a lot of people who like those two authors, like it seems like people like both of them because of their writing style. And some people will argue like, I like fantasy that has, not me, but other people that I watch, like they say, if we're going to be reading about things that are so grand and epic and crazy, I want like a window, like a basic prose style. And for me, I feel like I prefer, if we're going to be reading about the high epic stuff, you might as well just take it all the way there, with like the, also adding in the like dreamlike, ethereal, crazy writing, because I think it's like, it just adds more to the atmosphere, I think. I mean, as I'm saying this, I really want to read Naomi Novik, because I think she is going to fall under that like literary fantasy umbrella, I think. I don't know. You can let me know if I'm wrong or not. And I follow other people. I follow a lot of booktubers. Like that's all I do most of the time. That's what when I've been putting off my chores all fucking weekend, what I've been doing is watching BookTube and hearing everyone else's opinion. Meanwhile, what's my own? I need to form my own fucking opinion. So all that to be said, the Raven Cycle, or The Dream Thieves, is the book I'm enjoying the most, because it is not literary with no plot, and it is not fantasy with no good writing. It is perfectly those two things. And I don't really like high epic fantasy most of the time, because it typically falls under, not all the time. And it's just interesting how like those things are so hyped, like Sanderson and Sarah J Maas, because, and there are still other Sanderson books I want to read, and like mostly Treasure of the Emerald Sea, because I own it, and I know people have said that like his writing is kind of different in that book, and I really want to read like Yumi and The Nightmare. I want to read all those too. But so all that to be said, I think of all these three books I just mentioned, I will most likely finish Heir of Fire first, because I'm the closest to the end of that book. I want to try to end the vlog today with at least finishing one book, and I'm pretty sure Heir of Fire is the most popular out of all those, so I wanted to squeeze in like some kind of graphic novel or something. Actually, I think I might try to finish Shadow of the Wind first, because I only have like 3 days left to read it, and then it returns to the library, and then it has a long ass hold wait on it, and I just don't want to like have to wait again to read it again. Everything I'm reading lately, I feel like it's not hitting as well as other stuff. I was like making a video about my favorite authors and stuff, and I feel like it's always like the characters and the writing, and not necessarily like flowery writing, but intentional writing. And I just don't know it's so annoying to determine how. I guess the way to do it is to just pick up the book and read it and like sample it before you purchase it or whatever. So I need to start doing that. But all this to say, I will update you whenever I have more to say about Air of Fire or The Dream Thieves or Shadow of the Wind or all three or one of them. Hopefully, I'm sure Air of Fire and Shadow of the Wind are going to be like the two like main ones in this vlog. So, you know, I think that the Raven Cycle could become an all-time favorite series for me if I, you know, can let myself get swept up into it. And I hope that for me very much, because, and I hope I can enjoy like her other work. Like there's so many authors that I just want to be able to like enjoy all of their work, and I hope she's one for me. But yeah, okay, it's been like 20 minutes. I'll see you guys next time. You guys, I managed to finish The Shadow of the Wind and Air of Fire before 1 o'clock today, and it's Monday. So I have thoughts. I have continued to have negative thoughts about The Shadow of the Wind, unfortunately. But however, as I continued in Air of Fire, I realized some things about Sarah J. Maas that I've heard many people mention this, and that is that it's kind of like, and I, again, think I mentioned before how people who like Sarah J. Maas also seem to like Brandon Sanderson but not everyone. I know that's not everyone, but I feel like they both have a very explosive ending to their books. And I can see how readers would appreciate that, especially with how Air of Fire ended. However, I have to say, I wanted like the way Air of Fire ended. I thought with the ending we got in Crown of Midnight that like it feels like Air of Fire was just setting up a bunch of chess pieces to propel us forward into the plot that I actually want from this series. And I hate to say it, but it just feels like Air of Fire is this, it feels like a filler book to me. And I know there are other books in my favorite series that people have referred to as filler books that I absolutely don't agree with. So I know like how that could feel to hear that, especially with this series and how incredibly popular it is and all that. And this is the book most people say is when it takes off, but I just don't agree at all. Like I just feel like we're hitting the brakes on what I wanted the plot to be. And I bet people are going to tell me like, oh, I need to keep going in the series because I'm going to get what I want. And while that might be true, the ending of the book was so good. I will say that the way Air of Fire ended was so good and had so many pieces coming together in a way that I enjoyed immensely. But I just feel like I've read half of the series at this point. I guess I'm both mindsets here because I've read half the series. So what is it to just continue? However, I've read half of the series for it to feel just okay. And I just don't know if I really want to read any more of Sarah J. Maas, who is one of the most, if not the most popular currently writing author. I just don't really feel that I'm not motivated to do it. And I know many people want to know everyone's thoughts on the series because it's so popular. And I don't know. I mean, I might continue it. I might not. I don't know. I'm very on the fence about it at this moment. So I might start Queen of Shadows, but if I'm not enjoying it, because Air of Fire took me 2 months. It took me literally 2 months to finish it, and I was listening to it on audiobook, which it should take me a week at the most to finish an audiobook, at the most. Okay, like that means that I was intentionally not reaching for the book. It just is what it is. I'm so sorry. And I really thought that, and I know Air of Fire it just feels like we really pumped the brakes on the momentum. But now this ending makes me feel like, oh, okay, maybe we're about to get gassed back up. So I don't know. And it's funny because I was literally telling my coworkers, I was like, I'm dying for a plot that is, I don't want to give away what Throne of Glass is, but I feel like I'm sure people can guess. I wanted that so bad, but I just don't know that it's really giving what I want. Also, on another note, I read/skimmed the first chapter of so many books that I own. I'm going to do that as a separate video, I think. But it's just wild how many similarities there are in the setup of countless fantasy books. And it makes me feel like I really need to step out of the comfort zone of fantasy, because I just feel like it's starting to feel very oversaturated. If you read any of one genre, I think this would happen to anyone who read way too much of one genre. I need to step out of my comfort zone. Okay, and then also let's talk about Shadow of the Wind. So the Shadow of the Wind, there's this scene in which, no spoilers, but there's a scene in which you start reading a letter. And that letter was so long. and it felt like it went on for an eternity. It went on forever and ever and ever. And the way it was written made me confused because I kept like pausing the book and then picking it back up and thinking like, oh, right, we're in this letter. And I was like, wait, we're still in the letter? And while I absolutely love that as a storytelling technique in a fantasy book, I think like reading a letter from, like, it's something that Cassandra Clare did in Infernal Devices, and I absolutely loved how they were interweaved in the story. And I know in City of Bones, she has a massive, massive exposition dump in one of the chapters in City of Bones, and I loved that. However, I didn't love it in the literary fiction sense, and I thought I would. You would think I would, based off of my love for it in other, but I guess it just has to do with the genre preferences or whatever, and just my absolute lack of appreciation for the lit fic genre. I mean, I love beautiful writing, as I've said, but I did not love Shadow of the Wind. I gave it 3 stars. I think I am also going to give Air of Fire 3 stars, but for all the reasons I have already mentioned, I think, like, I just feel I'm gonna say I probably won't read the other, but it's annoying because if we're finally going to get the plot that I want Throne of Glass to be, then I feel like I should continue because we're gonna finally get it. But I just don't know if we are. Like, it just felt like what should have happened, what I would have liked, which is of course impossible to whatever. Like, I would have appreciated it if instead Manon had been introduced in like the short story collection, and then we had focused more on the political maneuverings of our main character and the people she met from the first book, if you will. Like, if we had just focused on all those perspectives and then like had known about Manon from a short story collection. Like, I didn't need Manon's POV in Air of Fire. And I just felt like every time that it just knocked me out of wanting to care about what was happening every time we got her POV. So I wish it had been introduced differently. And I don't really know what that looks like. I don't know how I would write it. I don't know what I would change about it, but I do know that I would change a lot of things about Air of Fire as a book. I think Sarah J. Maas just puts all of her plot at the end of the book. Every single thing that's actually interesting is always at the end of the book. And I don't like that as a writing style. I would rather be entertained throughout the whole book. Is that not how everyone feels? Or maybe people do feel entertained throughout the whole book, and I just don't. So there's that. Yeah, Shadow of the Wind was 3 stars. Air of Fire is going to be 3 stars. I'm so sorry. I know they are both very beloved books. I'm so sorry. In other news, though, as I was also mentioning before in this video, I was reading The Raven Cycle, and I think I just can't get my brain around the idea of reading an ebook, I guess. So I went to the library just now, and I picked up The Dream Thieves, and I also picked up Blue Lily, Lily Blue. I did not pick up any other books because I strongly feel this is the one. Okay, this is gonna be like a top 10 favorite series. I'm calling it now. I'm manifesting it. This is the one. I just had to read it physically for it to become that, and it's going to become that. It's going to be my favorite thing ever. I'm gonna read the Dreamer trilogy also, and I'm just gonna love everything. And then I'm also gonna love the other books that Maggie Stiefvater has written. I'm calling it now. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna love all her writing and all her characters, and she's gonna be a favorite author for me. I'm calling it, I'm saying it, I'm manifesting it. I want it so bad. 'Tis what I want. Yes. So I need to figure out like where I was in this like ebook into the physical book, and then I need to continue said physical book and then read it. And then also I was gonna say, I went to Goodreads and I went to fantasy, and it's funny because I talked to one of my friends and she's like, no, you love high fantasy. And I'm like, oh, I don't love Throne of Glass. I don't love most of Brandon Sanderson. I've only read a couple things by Sanderson, but I do love The Name of the Wind, and I do love some of the things I've read from Robin Hobb. I didn't love The Lies of Lagamora, and I know there's more. I didn't love The Fifth Season. Those are all high epic. It's very hit or miss for me. It's a very hit or miss genre for me, but the much more of a hit, much more often to be a hit, is low fantasy. So I'm just gonna like screenshot record like all these books that are low fantasy when you go to Goodreads and you tag that, and I'm like, oh, this is what I love. This is what I want. I feel like I love medium fantasy. I don't like high fantasy. I don't like magical realism. I don't love like extra low fantasy, but I love medium amounts of fantasy because I love a contemporary setting with some magical, unexplained, whimsical shit. Although I also love Strange the Dreamer. So I also love Daughter of Smoke and Bone, which hopefully at this point you've seen the absolute stunning editions of that series that I bought from LitJoy. Oh my god, they're so fucking beautiful. But I mean, like, and I absolutely love Percy Jackson, Shadowhunters. Like, they all have a real world element to them. And I think I also need to, I'm going to go back. I might get it from the library again. I'm going to try to get Darker Shade of Magic because it has one foot in the real world. Maybe I just like portal fantasy. I don't know. But I definitely, high fantasy, I'm saying this, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, no, but when I do love it, I really love it. So I think I'm just someone with preferences. I'm just someone who has preferences when it comes to the writing in their books. So I really want to read Darker Shade of Magic again, because I really do think that series, for me, the reason I didn't love it has a lot to do with the narration, or maybe, I don't know, I want to get into it again. I want to try it again. But I definitely think that this one, and I know many people say this is their favorite. I want to find my people. I feel like my people are the low/medium fantasy people. Like, and I just feel like urban fantasy gets such a bad rap online, or I'm just not following the right people. Like, I don't know what it is. So if you know booktubers that like love the Raven Cycle and like Shadowhunters, and obviously I've mentioned the Clockwork Reader several times. I know Emma Books, like I know she also has a whole video. I just watched that video again of like high fantasy books if you don't like urban fantasy. And I'm just thinking that like and it's crazy because she also didn't like Air of Fire and found Air of Fire to be like it put her in a reading slump. And I do not want to be in a reading slump. I do not want that. I need to be continuing on. But all that said, because I finished 2 books and it's been a week and a few days, I think this is a good time to end the vlog, and I'll be starting a new vlog. And in said new vlog, hopefully I will read at least these 2 books, and it will become my all-time favorite series. Like I said, well, I think this could be a top 3. I really think it could be a top 3 because the fantasy elements, the atmosphere, God, she's so good at atmosphere, and she's so good at the character dynamics. Like, she's so good at a lot of things, honestly. I feel like we've talked about a lot of stuff in this vlog. I hope it's not an hour long. I hope I was able to condense it somewhat, if at all possible. So I will leave my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter all in the description for you to check out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.